Most great salespeople bring talent, passion, and persuasiveness to their work. These natural gifts can often overcome an unstructured sales process, but not always. Let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk because results prove that consistently using a systematic, data driven sales process increases win rates and improves client success. My guest today will tell you how. I'm sensing an AI conversation.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, Mark Petruzzi, has worked in the enterprise software and cloud software ecosystem for 25 years. He's held senior leadership positions at Oracle, UKG, HCL, Accenture, and Deloitte. He's the co-author of Data and Diagnosis-Driven Selling, which came out late last year, and we're thrilled to have him. Happy to have you with us, and welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, Rob, I'm ecstatic to be here. Thank you.
Good having you here. And I will tell you, Mark already gets a gold star because he thinks like a salesperson. He was here early, and that's what I like. So, all right, you're already playing with house money. We should be good to go. So here we go. If you're in sales or manage a sales team, we've all had our share of training, but how much of it's dedicated to the way the prospects want to buy, not how you think they want to buy? And even I've done some research on this, but not from an AI standpoint, just trying to focus on that customer decision cycle, maybe a little bit about off of us. But I sense a kind of a facts versus feeling conversation here, and that's where AI comes in. I think it kind of pulls the feelings out. So let's start here. I'll get out of your way. Tell me how AI gets us off our feelings and kind of pushes us back to the facts a little bit.
Awesome. That sounds great, Rob. And I guess I'll start with I'm a consultant, a strategy consultant in general. I've been an operator most of my career, but I started my career after business school as a strategy consultant at a really incredible Harvard-based consulting firm called Mac Group. And the last few years, I've been doing a lot of work with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, as one of their senior advisors as well, amongst some other companies. So I have this consulting background, but I really, really don't like acronyms. So AI is another acronym. And I usually stay away from them, even though most big consulting firms, I was a managing director at Deloitte. I mean, Deloitte, we had acronyms for everything. There were acronyms for your name. You'd be RJ, and everything. So when it comes down to it, I had to make a decision with AI, whether this was one that I fully embrace and I don't fight this acronym type of approach. And I decided to go all in on this because I really think this is different. This is really, really a game changer in a lot of ways. And, every once in a while, it really comes down to a point in technology where it is right place, right time, right technology. So to your point, what does it do with the process side, the human versus the technology? It does allow, when used the right way, when used effectively and efficiently by companies, does allow you to drive that cadence that you want to in a in a sales process. It does allow you to not have to remember everything. Like we joked a little bit before about hitting that record button as a podcaster. Things like that, to know that a computer, that a robot is doing that for you, allows you to go and start thinking about the strategic stuff, the stuff that we humans still do a lot better than any computer can. And I think that's really one of the biggest reasons why AI, and particularly Gen AI, is really a really great technology for now. And it's really, lots of companies are leveraging it in many really, really effective ways.
Okay, you just hit, I'm not exactly sure of an acronym there, but just clear up. I actually don't know Gen AI. I know AI. So
Okay.
Gen AI is?
So again, the perfect example of me using an acronym or a title. So that's generative AI. And AI has been around for many, many years. I mean, I think the early days of predictive AI was 15, 20 years ago. And I have been in the predictive AI side of artificial intelligence for about 6 years. And that's where technology and machine learning has taken it to a process where you can predict what us humans will do through lots of great data. The difference with Gen AI is Gen AI actually generates something. It creates something. So when we go on to ChatGPT and we ask it to write a email for us, and it does. That's Gen AI.
Got it. Okay. And don't feel badly about that, by the way. I have to quick story, but years ago, I'm talking maybe 40 years ago, I was working on a government contract for the National Flood Insurance Program, the NFIP, administered by FEMA. I could go on, but we had an 800 number, and the FEMites, as we call them, sometimes they'd have their children call in just to check on times and things. And one of our acronyms for base flood depth, it was how we rated policy, was BFD. And we had a 800 person talking to a 13-year-old, 15-year-old saying, well, what's your BFD? And that acronym can mean a few different things. I'm a fairly clean show. I don't mind my guests cursing, but as a trainer, but anyway, we had in the morning, we had to get rid of that acronym in a hurry because it was offensive to someone. So
well, the teenagers probably like that acronym. So that's
oh,
good.
I hear the kid was on the floor howling. And, of course, the 800, what did I do? What happened? So, but anyway, they can get us in trouble. Is just real simple, but you were mentioning it's been around. So is an auto attendant on a phone, is that a form of sort of crude AI?
Yeah, it totally is. And it's really a form of Gen AI before we all went crazy with Gen AI, which has happened with ChatGPT.
Right.
Now we're about 15, 18 months into that whole process. So yeah, it wasn't like there was no generative AI before ChatGPT, but it's all come together. Predictive AI would more come down to, for example, a sales forecast. I worked with some great tools over the last 5 or 6 years that could really help you at the beginning of a quarter predict with 3, 4% plus or minus accuracy what your sales team will sell by the end of the quarter. So how much business they'll close. So that's not new anymore. Now, with all the power of Gen AI and all AI as a whole, even those tools are getting much more powerful. They're getting it to a point where it's plus or minus 2%, not plus or minus 4% or 5%. And what they also can do is mainly make it a plus, not a minus. And what I mean by that is there are all these capabilities now that are typically called guided selling that come into place, and it's really an artificial intelligence process guiding your sales team and giving recommendations of what they should be doing at individual times. So really taking the place in some ways of a manager or a leader and coaching along the way. Well, when used correctly and used well, that tends to make your forecast come in, or your actuals come in a little higher than forecast. So that's one of the benefits, one of the real positives of what has happened now with AI today versus even 5 years ago.
Okay. And we're gonna get there. I kind of wanted to close with it, but I'm gonna tell you, my eyebrow is up in the air because well said, sir. And yet talking to a sales coach, a sales trainer, a professional speaker, who is comfortable doing these things. I know we've got a solution because, quite frankly, we all have. I'm evolving too, but just have it on the back burner there because a lot of people get uncomfortable. The AI sounds like a terrific thing till it steps into your world a little bit, and I think people tend to panic and don't realize that there's plenty of places for us still to go. I'm with you. Truly, my goal in life is to help people sell more effectively, be more authentic, all these things. I could give you a list as long as my arm. If AI can do that better than me, I'm all for it, quite frankly, because that's my goal. I'll find ways of managing that AI. I'll find ways of training people on the AI. So, but we got to go there in a minute or two. I just wanted you to know that my throat tightened up just a hair while you were talking about it. So, all right. The let's keep going. You know,
Yeah.
one of my concerns about AI is a lack of authenticity. And again, I'm evolving, but I'm still sort of I have an auto attendant on my phone that's sitting to my left still. I'm kind of that first generation of AI and getting into these phone trees. You even hear the commercials where people are just frustrated and angry, but they're showing them pretty much the worst face of an old AI. Tell me ways that AI has improved kind of the personalization part, the more authentic part. Let's say the this daggone phone tree that I'm obsessed with is the example of one of the negative side. Give me the positive side from an authenticity standpoint.
Well, I'll go a little deeper where you started there with authenticity and all these traits that humans are really good at and really good sales reps are good at. So, for example, you mentioned my last book, Data and Diagnosis Based Selling. Um, I had a book before that called Selling the Cloud, and that Selling the Cloud, we went the very different approaches. Selling the cloud was really about the qualitative aspects of selling in B2B, complex B2B, but particularly in the SaaS cloud software space, which is where I've spent most of my career. Data and diagnosis driven selling has gone more into the quantitative side of this. And it's really fun going from both sides. But like you, I have been coaching and guiding my clients around the power of authenticity, the power of having sales reps with strong empathy and strong just general, build credibility and trust building capabilities. So all of those things are what makes us, frankly, what's going to allow us to have jobs a month from now and a year from now, and I would imagine 5 or 10 years from now as well. Because AI will not be able to get there in those items. Although, again, it's been proving to it evolves really quickly. So there's lots of things it can do. What it does to me that I think makes it so appealing and so valuable is it helps you, especially in sales, to take away the monotonous, repetitive type of items, like you getting interrupted to go pick up that phone in the middle of a podcast, or to have to do something that can be done in a repetitive sort of way just as well as we can by picking up the phone. Hello. Now, to your point, does it do that even today? Not really, because like you, I have to call in the customer service types of phone lines all the time, and I end up typically having a much worse impression of the company at the end of that call than I did at the beginning of the beginning of the call. So that is AI at its worst. AI at its finest is it takes away those momentum, those kind of general, just really repetitive type tasks, and it helps you have more time to do the more productive stuff. So think about this. Think about sales reps focusing on more strategic items about their territory and their relationships and just taking time to think about that particular prospect and saying, that person, I need to go spend some time with him or her. Those are the game changers. So it's about the added productivity on the strategic stuff. And then it also comes down to the simple things that you're describing, that you're coaching. If we are overwhelmed, like many people are in their careers right now and in their work, where they are stressed all the time. They are being asked to deliver 60 hours worth of work, and they only, with their family and everything else, can only commit to 40 or 50 hours. Well, guess what? That makes us less authentic. That makes us, in some cases, less trustworthy. And it certainly makes us less pleasant, right? So all these little things can really add value when you can leverage it in the right way.
Yeah. And listening to you, I'm also thinking that particularly if we're kind of annoyed that the AI thought, we tend to cherry pick the few things that it doesn't do well and don't look at the big picture. For instance, uh, would you consider an auto attend on what is it? Autonomous driving vehicles
Yes.
a form of AI?
Yes.
Okay. And so what do we hear? I want to be kind about this, but a car in Pittsburgh ran over a human being. It was a terrible tragedy. But what we don't hear is for every one of those, 200 vehicles where somebody's eating, sleeping, texting, you name it. And but we want to cherry pick that one event. I got to tell you, I remember sitting in a room, financial room where I was speaking, and somebody was talking about AI and showing some of the technology that is being used in those autonomous vehicles, going under and around vehicles that are four vehicles up, and taking evasive action before an accident, four vehicles up that you can't even see.
Yeah.
It's already predicting what's happening and moving that car off to the side, slowing it down, etc. But there we go, sort of cherry picking the one event and giving it a black eye in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And we as humans, we're really good at that, aren't we? We find that one thing. And to your point, yeah, what Elon Musk has done with Tesla is he has built this incredible large language model, which is the baseline of these AI systems. And it learns from all the data that comes in. It learns from everything it does, and it gets a little bit better. And so that's one side of it. But let me give you a pure play sales rep example.
Good.
So when it comes down to it, as a sales rep, you could say this is a great thing, Gen AI, or you could say maybe it's a bad thing. It's going to make me less necessary or make less money in the future. You can have all kinds of fears and concerns. But let's talk about some examples of what it's doing today. And there's a company I work with called Collective I. Collective, the word collective, the letter I.com. It's a New York-based company. They have built this incredible multi-billion data point, large language model where they do all these incredible things for their clients, mostly on the sales side. They had built a product that takes the process of updating your CRM system. And as you, with all your incredible experience in the companies you work with, I'm sure you hear all the time what most sales reps think about CRM systems.
I can't
And
stand them. I
they
can't
can't
stand them.
stand.
They feel like they're
And
being watched.
yeah, they feel like that's exactly right. Well, there's two sides, there's two opportunities here, and everybody gets a little something here. And this is the stuff in AI that I really love. So the sales rep gets something with Collective I, and that is once the system is updated and the company buys that, all the new data or most of the new data is updated automatically by AI. And here's an example of that. If somebody leaves the company, somebody you're selling to leaves the company, well, as a sales rep, you're notified. And at the same time, that new person that was hired into the role gets actually replaced in that record in the CRM system. If you have a meeting, if you have a call, all those notes and the information that is relevant to the CRM gets done automatically. And they're showing some research now that, 25% of a sales rep's day at some companies is spent updating these systems just so that their executive team has all the data and they can watch over them. So sales reps get a benefit here because they can be more productive. They can have more time in their day. The company gets a big benefit because it takes away the whole watching thing. and actually turns it more into, hey, all the company wants is accurate data. Now, we as humans, we as sales reps, we don't often put the most accurate information in because we're always, especially as sales reps, gaming the system in different ways. We're either trying to hold an account that could sell in this quarter, and maybe we're trying to hold it for another quarter, a later quarter for whatever reason, right?
Ooh, that never happens.
Never happens, right? Or we want to make sure that all these relationships that we have, that there are relationships and we're valuable and the company can't just decide to let us go. So we put in about half of the contacts that we have, and we put in half of the interactions or whatever it is. There is a lot of that happens. So it's kind of a trade-off. I'll take any day 20% increase in productivity and added time in my schedule to give up a little bit of that manipulating that I may or may not want to do at any sales role that I've been in the past or out in the future. So there's lots of AI that does multiple things at one time. Collectivize is a great example of that. And that product, it's so accurate. I mean, it really, this large language model, and I'll share with you one other thing that I know you're going to love as well. They also have a forecasting component, like I described to you before, but it's not the old-fashioned just predictive models that I worked more with 5 or 6 years ago. It's a full large language model today. So what that does, it takes in all this information that it picks up in the CRM system, but it also takes all this outside information that most companies have no data on whatsoever. And it can predict selling forecasts, when a deal is going to close, and how that changes when something geopolitical occurs. When the IDP, the Israeli Defense Group, went in and went into Hamas. Well, what this model did was say, okay, we don't know exactly how that's going to affect companies and buying and that side of the equation, but we know this: any deal that was about to close in the next 7 to 15 days is probably going to get affected, probably going to get delayed. Companies and people are going to have to figure out how this is going to affect. And then at the other side, macroeconomic data, when new results come out, where they predicts where the economy goes. If we are about to go into a recession like they've been predicting for 2 years, if there's a feeling that that's going to happen over the next quarter or two, well, guess what? You're probably going to have a little bit slower movement on some of your deals. All of this stuff is not 100% perfect, but it's a lot better having this data at 98% perfect than not having it at all.
Yeah, it makes total sense. We're talking to the co-author of
Data and Diagnosis Driven Selling.
There it is. But you got a second one too. I'm assuming you've got an author's page where if I jump to Petruzzi, I can get to both these books.
Yep, you can do that. You can go to LinkedIn, and then there's also our data-driven selling.ai that you can go to as well. So yep, got a lot of good information out there to share.
Perfect. See, AI would have got that diagnosis perfectly. And
Perfectly.
this was a human fumble. And it's funny talking to you because you're more technical than I am. I look at things in a little bit more generally, but I'll tell you one other thing that I like about AI, and I go back to that: facts and feelings. Okay. If you really study just the art or the act of procrastination, you'll find that most people really aren't. It has nothing to do with being lazy. That's sort of old school thinking.
Yep.
It's not prioritizing your day properly, mainly because you're kind of moving to things that are a little bit more comfortable to do. And so you can fool yourself. But people who procrastinate will put in a hard day's work. They're just not really working intelligently or in the areas that they should be. And what I like about AI, I believe, is that it will act, and you correct me, but I think it will act as a guide, almost a conscience to really kind of keep us on task. Because I really believe that it's not a conscious decision that people are making. It's more unconscious when they move to areas of comfort. Am I off on that one?
Now, I think, Rob, I think you're right on the money with that. I think there's a couple things that happen to all of us. One is, and a few things that really get corrected by AI. The first thing is we, especially as sales reps, we always hate to do that first step, that going out there and lead generating and doing that stuff like, like cold calling that we don't like to do, but sometimes have to in different sales roles. So, let's say we had an AI engine that was going to set up these deals and generate it through some sort of great marketing program. And then you now are, instead of spending 8 hours a week doing that, you've got 8 more hours a week. And now you've got a list of accounts that they're interested in your product that you sell. And maybe it's a little further along than, of course, it would be if you had to go start and find it from the beginning. Guess what? We get energized as sales reps to go close that. So
Right.
I think, your point of procrastination and just the ability to kind of allow and build a cadence that we can build energy off of, rather than starting on that Monday morning at 8 a.m. and saying, my goodness, I don't have any leads whatsoever. And so, little things like that. And then I've spent my whole career a bit obsessed about productivity. And you know what? As a sales rep, that has served me really, really well, because, I went to business school. In that MBA, I learned about how companies are always focused on making things more efficient and always focused on the productivity of their employees. And I learned that, and I took it away into sales and said, it's all about productivity, right? If we have good skills, whatever we build our skills to, we're going to deliver more off of those skills if we're more productive. So that's just another thing that I look at. And I kind of look at it as a challenge, from the standpoint of, there's all this AI and there's so many companies popping up every single day, that it becomes a challenge to say, just like you have, Rob, how do I build this into my focus, to the things I want to accomplish each day and each week? Are there tools that can help me? And then you go and you make those investments in those tools, and some things meet your expectations, some things exceed your expectations, and some things are not the right fit. But in the world we live in today, you get to make those moves very, very quickly. And what I find is, as I make good AI decisions, I get more and more productive. And that's just a great feeling. And if certainly, like I said, if you're on a quota approach and you need to make that number at the end of the year, there's nothing more powerful than adding to your productivity.
Agreed. So let's flip it a little bit. I've been fighting for those that really fighting for me, but fighting for those who struggle with AI a little bit. How about those that are, all on board, so on board that we don't have to talk them into it, but are there some ethical considerations they need to be aware of for those that want to jump in with both feet?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think those ethical considerations are coming. Um, I don't make policy decisions, so I kind of look at it and say, these are things I really can't control, other than by whom I vote for and who I support, and from a governmental standpoint and all of that, because that's who I believe will have to make some of these decisions. Um, but the ethical aspect is real. The view I take on this is, it's here. It's building. There will be ebbs and flows and ups and downs with the support for AI, but I don't see it going completely away in any shape or form. And But I'd like to see, I hope we have people running companies and running jurisdictions and governments throughout the world that will make the right decisions on this, because people a lot smarter than me have shared, and that there are definitely going to be ethical considerations. I mean, think about it. At the end of the day, there are lots of smart people that think AI is going to over time, and maybe they debate or differ on how long it's going to take, but they think this kind of makes the world a place where humans don't need to work. And really all it becomes is the government finding a way to share the benefits of these companies and these systems and AI itself, and allocate money out across the population of a given country. So that's way beyond where we are today, and way beyond what I believe we have to worry about today. But man, I mean, what's more potentially disconnecting and disturbing than thinking that that could possibly be the case, if not in our lifetimes, in our children's lifetimes.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur and seeing some of the benefits that are coming, and I've been shown them, I can tell you that it's just like that car example we gave you. There's so many pros to this, and of course there's cons. But I started, and I sort of poked the hornet's nest and said we'll be back to that nest, and the nest I want to kind of end with is the elephant in the room of replacing humans. And I nicked it, but you're the author. I want to hear from you on this. That's pretty much the thing that, particularly those who really don't know a whole lot about AI, they just keep hearing about it and they hear the scary stories about being replaced. Tell me, let's put those fears, knock those fears down a bit. What would you say to somebody who's sitting in the corner going, is this gonna push me out of a job?
Yeah. Well, I guess first I'll apologize that I just made the comment that I made about what could happen, right? I mean, so I guess I'm not the perfect person to alleviate those fears, because who knows where the future goes in all this. That what I can say, being someone who knows more about AI than most people, than average, understanding of the space, that it's got a long way to go. And it is, and it's funny, as fast as technology moves, I have found, and I have experienced firsthand, that at the end of the day, it doesn't move as fast as you typically expect. And here's what I mean by that. The AI, I mean, AI is an example. AI 15, 20 years ago, when this was first being pulled together in certain companies and in think tanks, I mean, everybody thought this was it, right? I mean, certainly everything that can be built robotic would be built robotic. And that, car manufacturing plants were not going to have any people working in it. That's what was thought of 20, and it's probably closer to 25 years ago, when some of these bases on the predictive side around artificial intelligence was built. So guess what? 25 years later, we still have a lot of people working in the car manufacturing industry. Nowhere close to as many as we would have had. But I guess, if we kind of bet on humanity, we bet on us as humans getting smarter as well and evolving as the technology evolves.
There you
I
go.
mean, here's another thing. I mean, we're at 3.7% unemployment in the United States now. So, maybe this is something we really need
Right.
to keep up. And maybe we don't see, undue unemployment or people being put out of a job. But I have to close with, I'm not here to predict the future. I don't believe smart enough to do that. But I will tell you, in the meantime, if you run a business, if you run a sales territory, if you're a sales leader, it's really important to embrace it because your competitors are, and like everything else we do in this world of business, it's all about competing to the best of your ability, becoming as smart and effective and efficient and productive as you can. And AI is a great way to do that.
Yeah, I want to tell you, you literally took the words out of my mouth as I was listening to. I was thinking about, and you've seen these reports, the Fortune 500 company list from 30 years ago. And we're like 80% of those companies are gone or they've changed. Listen, life changes. We all think that this is the moment where everything is really different. Life keeps cycling. You can stand on your porch and scream, "Get off my yard," or you can embrace it. And I think of, even for me, the pandemic. I'm a corporate trainer. I've got 3 million miles on the road. What's this Zoom thing? What's this nonsense? But I got to tell you, it was like, well, you better learn this nonsense. And within 2 months, I was teaching classes on virtual communication and Zoom, and I wasn't an imposter. I studied morning, noon, and night. I looked at every article there was, every piece of technology, built my own product lists, experimented in my home, created my own studio, because it was either that or sit in the corner and cower and go, "This isn't fair. Why are we doing things virtually? I want to be in a Marriott with a mic around my neck." It doesn't work that way. You have to evolve, or go have a martini and head out to the beach. I'll join you there. I'm just not ready yet. But if you're not ready to go to the beach, perfect words, Mark. Embrace it. Just figure out a way, because those who do, there'll be plenty of work and you'll be in your industry. You'll just be doing it a slightly different way. And I think that's a great way to leave it. Tell me about some mentors that you might have.
Oh my goodness, so many. And I really feel like I'm so grateful and so blessed by them over the years. Um, so I guess core mentors for me is, I've had individuals that have helped me when I was very early in my career. I was fortunate enough to have worked with individuals even as incredible and famous as Mark Benioff back in Oracle before he went off and started Salesforce. So I've gotten to work with him early on, and then work with really his teams over the years. I've worked with Salesforce as a company for 18 years now.
Wow.
And the company, the talent that he has built in that company that I've been able to work with. And I'll give examples of that. Jim Steele, who's still to this day, he is not a spring chicken, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying that to him, and could have retired many, many times over the last 15, 20 years. He's still running a big group for Mark over at Salesforce, very, very pivotal group as the president there. So I've learned from guys like him. My co-author, Paul Melchiori. Paul is the same story. 25 years ago, I worked with him when he was still at SAP, and then moved to Ariba, and I was at Deloitte at the time. I've gotten to just learn and experience, and the last thing, the one thing that I'll even recommend with the books. Both of these books, I leverage this idea called Cloud Titans, and these are the individuals like a Jim Steele that I've worked with over the years that really are titans of the SaaS and cloud industry. Most of them are CROs, some of them are CEOs. We finished every chapter of the book, each book, with a page, half a page of just guidance and notes and experience and expertise from those cloud titans. So I've been blessed with those relationships all over the years. And that's a lot of what I do in my consulting every day. I share stories and things that I learned from all those individuals. And I share them with my large clients that I work with at BCG or Genpact, which is another large client relationship of mine. And then some of the really small, startup SaaS companies, early stage SaaS companies that I work with. and I love it all. I love the big, major, complex deals and client work like that I still do for a company like Salesforce today. And I love the small, 15, 20 person, 20 sales team, early stage companies, because they need things that are similar and incredibly different than each other. But when you can really bring in that same mindset, and you can bring all the way back to AI here, you can bring in these incredible AI tools, whether you're a, $300 billion revenue company, or you're a, $2 million revenue company. It doesn't matter. There are tools out there for you that can help the productivity of your sales organization. And I love helping to bring my clients that type of capability every day.
Outstanding. He's Mark Petruzzi, data and diagnosis driven selling. I can be taught. How do people get a hold of you, Mark?
They can get me on LinkedIn. They can get me on email, whatever works. Even on LinkedIn, they want to give me a text, they can do that as well. So looking forward to the feedback. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Rob, and it was an absolute pleasure.
No, it's a pleasure of mine too. And before you go, clean up one acronym. I want to tell you, put it down there, and I actually looked it up, but SAAS.
Okay, sorry about that. And so somebody who says they hate acronyms, I certainly still use enough of them. Software as a service, so also known as cloud service, cloud software. And what it means, instead of paying a legacy perpetual fee like we used to 15, 20 years ago, starting with Mark Benioff and Salesforce, it's all turned into subscription, where you pay quarterly or yearly subscription fees. And we can do another podcast on that, because there's so many incredible reasons why that's made the client experience, the customer experience, so much better in SaaS than it was in the old days of perpetual software licenses. But that's for another day.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I actually Googled, I certainly knew B2B, another acronym, but B2B SaaS, I had to sort of hunt that one down before you got on the air. But once you threw it out, I went, I got him. Okay, listen, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Really nice getting to know you. And thanks. I really love these kind of conversations, mainly because at the end of the day, the only thing to fear is overreacting and putting your head in the sand. It's coming. Let's embrace it. The more we learn, the less terrifying it is. And so I just really grateful you took some time out and jumped on the show. Thanks so much. Pleasure meeting you, by the way.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
You bet. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.